I want to kind of dive into this a little bit because it is a prequel. It culminates with Jack caring for Anne with her Alzheimer's.
Sarah,
Yes, and
Sarah's of life.
what I really appreciate about this, Marianne, is the fact that I know you don't consider this book necessarily a book for caregivers, but if you read
Mhm.
this book, you're going to want to read the other ones, which eventually becomes a caregiver book, but also a love story, and I think
Mhm.
a real reality check for people about how life can transcend things. Right? They're young, they're in love, they get married. Ultimately, there's a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, and I appreciate it from the standpoint of, like, when I worked in the hospital or even with our home care company, we're only seeing Mr. Jones or Mrs. Smith, the patient with dementia, the patient with cancer, the patient with Parkinson's, or whatever the
Mhm.
diagnosis may be. And we don't get to see that more intimate portrait of who that person was: a college student, a father, a mother, going on family vacations, raising their children, all of the things that we do through life as we age. And you're giving people a very intimate portrait of who these people were back then. I think that's crucial and important because often we just see a person as their diagnosis and what we're there to treat them for or care for them with.
Yes. Speaking as a nurse, I would encounter that, whether it was at a hospital setting with visits with transient, I would know somebody for a few days and then they'd fall out of my life. Or when I worked in long-term care and I would have a much longer, deeper relationship
Right.
with an individual. But I always appreciated if there were clues in their room or in their environment, especially in long-term care, that gave you a glimpse into who they were at the past, family photographs, seeing them with their grandchildren, seeing them when they were young. One gentleman I remember, Jerry, who had Parkinson's and dementia and was nonverbal. His family had hung his degrees on the wall. He was an engineer and he had several different degrees, and he also was a baseball player. So they had photographs of him wearing, in his baseball uniform, black and whites, when he was young. I don't know who he played for. I don't remember, but seeing that let me know what his life was like and what kind of a person he was. And you also get that from the interactions of family and people who visit too as well. You also get that. So when I decided that I would write prequels to this book, I wanted to show what Sarah was like prior to her Alzheimer's diagnosis. We do see that in Blue Hydrangeas. There are still remnants of her, still being an artist and the things that Jack clings to, the aspects of their lives and their love together. But in these two books, you really get to see her in action, running the bed and breakfast, handling crises, planning a wedding, um, handling a blizzard by herself in the Christmas story. Yeah, so you see her being very capable, and there's no hint, of trouble brewing, another 2 decades down the road because it's like 20 years before Blue Hydrangeas.